government, not for your welfare only, but for the welfare of the children and upcoming generations of Vermonters. Thank you. Thank you. Take a breath. My diaphragm's getting a good workout today, trying to speak that loudly. And I hope I don't sound angry. I am impassioned. I am impassioned. I want you to know that just a week or two ago, not even 2 weeks, I held my newborn grandson in my arms just moments after his birth. And that 6 to 8 inches did not give him any less value. And it did not give my daughter, having her in him or out of her or in her, any greater value over him than when he was born. They both have value. And we can enact policy, and we should enact policy that helps women in all stages for all reasons. So whatever gives you passion, I hope that you will use that as you take it with you throughout the state. Please do. Please share. So now, thank you. We can't do this without you. Vermonters for Good Government is pleased to welcome State Representative Ann Donahue as a spokesperson. We welcome her expertise, her steadfast efforts, and her compassion. If any of you heard her remarks as the House took their final vote on Prop 5, as I did, you know she has vision and heart for the impact of this issue on all members of this state, which she understands so well, in part through her work as vice chair of the House Health Care Committee. State Representative Ann Donahue has served in the legislature since 2003, representing Northfield in Berlin. Yes, she earned her JD from Georgetown University Law Center, and in 1977, y'all, she received a lifetime achievement along with Colin Powell and Jimmy Carter.
Wow.
Wow, right. And can I say, lifetime achievement? That was 25 years ago. And look at her go. She's going strong. Ann has a history of working with and for marginalized individuals. She has a philosophy, a thread of that philosophy that she carries through everything she does. She is a fierce mental health advocate. Her passions come from life experiences, from running programs for runaway and homeless youth in New York City and LA. And more recently, welcoming a homeless family and an asylum applicant with a 3-year-old child into her own home. Ann walks the walk, and she's walking with us and Vermonters for Good Government to defeat Act 22. Please welcome State Representative Thank you so very much, and thank all of you for this hot sun and being here with us today. My passion on this issue is separate from my personal beliefs about the balance between the rights to personal bodily integrity and the right to life. It's about ensuring that Vermonters know what they are voting for, that the outcome truly does represent the will of the people. If that differs from mine, so be it. We are a democracy. But there is significant misinformation being promulgated. And it is highly unlikely
that Article 22 actually represents the will of Vermonters. That is why I joined the efforts of Vermonters for Good Government. Most pro-choice Vermonters will not want this amendment either if they learn the terrain.
That's right.
The lead sponsor of the Prop 5 Article 22 Reproductive Liberty Amendment in the Vermont House, Representative Ann Pugh, said in a recent radio interview that the state constitution, and this is her quote, is where we state our most fundamental beliefs and values. She is precisely right. And that's why Article 22 is not what happens in Vermont today, the claims of a red herring, the fact that people are claiming that elective third trimester abortions are not occurring. The fundamental question is, do our Vermont beliefs and values support an unlimited right to an elective third trimester abortion up until the time of birth and locking that right into our Constitution?
No, no, no.
Do we assert as a fundamental Vermont value that abortions the day before birth should be permitted without question and without any restriction?
No, no.
Do our fundamental values and beliefs support turning over to Vermont's courts unlimited authority for future decisions about the definition of reproductive autonomy, what it does or does not mean?
No, absolutely not.
Do we believe as a fundamental Vermont value that Vermont courts should be mandated to hold abortion more sacrosanct than any of our other existing constitutional rights, such as due process, the Common Benefits Clause, and free speech?
No.
Those are the core values in Article 22. There is misinformation being perpetuated, as you heard from our last speaker, that Article 22 is intended to protect the standards of Roe v. Wade in Vermont. The fact that Roe has been overturned is being used to create fear that abortion rights under Roe v. Wade are in jeopardy in Vermont unless we vote for this constitutional amendment. But Vermont state law already protects access to all abortions in Vermont, and federal law would supersede Vermont's constitution regardless. Roe itself flatly rejected the argument, and this is a quote from the court decision, that women's right is absolute and that she is entitled to terminate her pregnancy at whatever time, in whatever way, and for whatever reason she alone chooses. That's the Roe v. Wade opinion.
That's
the
right.
Panic across the nation about the Dobbs decision is about access to first trimester abortions, not late term ones. Article 22 would go radically beyond Roe v. Wade by creating a constitutional right in Vermont to abort a viable unborn child at whatever time, in whatever way, and for whatever reason the person carrying it chooses. And restrictions on late-term abortion on an elective basis is consistent with broad worldwide consensus. Almost every nation, including all European countries, limit abortion after 12 weeks and place major restrictions after 24 weeks. Even California, often seen as the most liberal state on abortion, bans elective abortion after viability. Yet exploitation of the Dobbs sphere has even led to direct assertions in Vermont that we need to protect against what is happening in Washington. That's the quote from their pamphlet. In apparent oblivion of the supremacy clause, that anything passed by Congress would supersede even a state's constitution. Vermonters are being wrongly trapped into a yes is essential, even if their gut says, no, this goes too far. There has also been huge consternation expressed publicly across the country by pro-choice views that a 9-person Supreme Court has redefined reproductive rights. But whenever constitutional language is ambiguous, as Article 22 is, it is the courts which must decide upon the meaning. Article 22 never references abortion. It guarantees reproductive liberty to all individuals, men, women, and children. And the New Oxford Companion to Law says about that term, reproductive autonomy, it says legal literature illustrates a significant variance as to its precise meaning. So under the vague wording of Article 22, Vermont's 5-person Supreme Court would be the decision maker over what reproductive autonomy means for all individuals in the future, such as when does a man's right to control his reproductive autonomy supersede a woman's? Perhaps he should be exempt from child support if he didn't want a child, but the woman refused an abortion. Such as when a child could decide on their own to have a hysterectomy. Such as whether the state could ever enact conscience protections for providers, something our legislature has rejected so far, one of only 2 states in the country.
Boo.
Such as whether experimental genetic engineering is included. Such as whether taxpayers could be required to fund all services related to reproduction in order to ensure access. Vermonters, through their legislature, would be barred from intervening in any decisions on the scope or limits of protecting, quote, reproductive autonomy. Through its direct language, it would also turn any debate over the high bar of what constitutes a compelling state interest over to the Vermont courts, because that's the language that's part of the constitutional amendment. Any decision on the scope or limits would be the exclusive domain of whoever is on the state Supreme Court at any given time, regardless of how the makeup of the court might change over time. Proponents should watch out what they wish for courts to change. Yet that is the choice that would be made for Article 22. You need to let your neighbors who are pro-choice know that. This is not some absolute protection for them. In addition, unlike the federal constitution, states can apply their constitutional standards to private entities as well as government entities. That opens the door for access lawsuits against hospitals or providers. Private hospitals and medical clinics could be barred from the choice of whether to offer abortion or other surgery related to reproduction, or whether to offer conscience protection to their own staff. Article 22 also intentionally places a standard called strict scrutiny directly into its language for the review of any competing interest. This would place this new constitutional freedom above all others, removing the court's authority of balance between constitutional rights that are in direct conflict. Volunteer groups offering alternatives to abortion could be denied their free speech. Promoting adoption could be illegal without including abortion referrals at the same time. Because of the basic prohibition on interfering with access, reproductive health becomes a higher value than access to any other type of health care, because there is no constitutional right to other health care.
Wow.
But the two bottom line questions for Vermonters remain the critical ones. Is placing interpretations of reproductive autonomy solely into the hands of 5 judges with no public input on any issue of fundamental value that we believe in and want to enshrine in our Constitution, or most important of all, is barring any state regulation of abortion after viability, making it a constitutional right, right up to the moment of birth, a fundamental value that we believe in and want to enshrine in our Constitution.
No.
Do Vermonters want this? Almost certainly not.
That's right. No.
There is no doubt that we are a majority pro-choice state, but the polls always talk about the support for the right to all or most abortions. Most is not all. Among Americans as a whole, a new Harris poll shows that only 10% support a right to elective abortion through 9 months. Abortions up until birth is not the majority pro-choice opinion.
That's right.
That is why your role is so critically important. Your friends and neighbors are being told constantly that we need this amendment to protect pro-choice views. They don't know it protects the abortion of viable babies. We, as Vermonters for Good Government, have a whole lot less funding and only a few staff compared to the broad group of proponents whose self-interests are served by this article. We need your help. And our executive director, Matt Strong, is going to tell you exactly how you can help.
Thank you very much, Anissa and Representative Ann Donahue. Thank you. So how do we defeat this? This is the question. And I want to tell you, it's actually simpler than many people think. When we took that poll that Anissa mentioned, that 61% of Vermonters had never heard of Article 22, another 9 weren't sure if they had heard of it. After passing the 4 votes in these chambers and making statewide and national headlines, 70% of Vermonters hadn't heard of it.
That's crazy.
The other thing that we found out from that poll is that when people were asked about what they would support, when after learning about the real-world ramifications of Article 22, the support dropped below passage.
Wow.
That gives us hope and a determination for action. We have a clear path. We have to tell Vermonters and then get them to the polls to vote.
Yes.
That's it. It's actually a really simple thing. A new Harvard poll came out just last week that said 90% of Americans do not support unregulated, unlimited abortion.
That's right.
Article 22 would create that very scenario. Plus, as a starter, that's the tip of the iceberg, as both Anissa and Representative Donahue just said. That is unacceptable.
That's right.
The important thing is that the path forward is very clear. We have to tell Vermonters what this monstrosity will do in the real world, and we will win. Let me say that again. This is winnable.
Yes. Yes.
This is not tilting at windmills. This is not going through motions, waiting on a foregone conclusion. If we each do our part to alert Vermonters about what the real world ramifications of this Article 22 mean in the real world, we're going to win and we're going to defeat Article 22. To that end, every conversation you have about Article 22 matters.
That's right.
And it's important that we understand that we need to be using the term Article 22. Prop 5, the words Prop 5 will not be on the ballot. Only Article 22. So we want to be telling our friends, our neighbors, our community to vote no on Article 22 and to tell them why. And most importantly, and it actually makes it really easy, start conversations with, hey, have you guys heard about Article 22 that's going to be on the ballot in November? Most of the time, you're going to hear, no, what's that? And that's why your help is crucial. We are working on raising funds and networking to get a bigger message out through the normal channels of advertising and political TV and radio ads. But in the meantime, everything that you guys can do will have a huge impact, because we just have to tell enough voters. We don't have to have a deep religious conversation with 640,000 people.
That's right.
We have to convince 50,000 voters that Article 22 may not be a great idea to put in our Constitution. Those are two vastly different ideas and with huge differences in strategy. And it means that, yet again, it is achievable and this is winnable.
That's right. That's right.
So for many months, we've been asking for volunteers, and we've been asking about for folks to take action. And now we are ready for you to take that action in the real world, starting today. We have got a bunch of programs going on, and that we're just getting started, and that you can be a part of and have a huge impact along with us. We're starting off with what we're calling our August 9th project. We've got a little table here. We've got a gentleman here, Matthew Cotting, who's standing there. Wave, Matt, there we go. I'm taking a closer to the microphone. There we go. He is going to be our project coordinator for our August 9th primary polling place literature handout. A huge swath of engaged voters are going to be going to the polls on primary day. A lot of them won't know anything about Article 22. Having volunteers at polling places, handing a nice little informational pamphlet, you don't have to have big conversations, just getting the information out there is going to be a crucial part of this, of letting Vermonters know about Article 22. If you would like to help in your local town, be sure to see Matthew and sign up there, and we can get you some good instructions, a nice little script for you to follow to make it easy to do, and palm cards to hand out, and we would love your help. And it's relatively easy to do, and you can do it as much as you can. We've got what we're calling a postcard campaign. We've got piles of postcards that Brenda is holding up. They have information on it, our website, a QR code for smartphones. They are in bundles of 100. Please feel free to take as many as you can reasonably mail out to anyone that you have a relationship with. Your local community, friends, neighbors, relatives. And if you run out of names, give us a holler. You can email me at matthew@vermontersforgoodgovernment.org, and I can help you get names of folks in your town if you have leftover postcards. That is a fantastic way to get information with a personal touch, a handwritten note, and a little explanation, as well as a link to our information that will get the word out. That would be huge. We've got yard signs, and this we've got some good yard signs. Thank you very much for all the folks who are diligently putting them together. That was a fun day yesterday. I moved 1,600 pounds of yard signs around my driveway that came in yesterday. So I'm very thankful for those. Please place them wherever you can. I've got a pile of sign placement tip sheets on the table. There is a bunch of rules and regulations about where you can put yard signs in public places on public roads. So if we want to make sure that we are frugal with our resources, make sure that they don't get removed by road crews because they're in a wrong spot. So if you have any questions, ask your town clerk or road commissioner of a safe place to put them. But take as many as you can place out in the wild. Our social media, we are on the 3 major platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a website. Every time you like, comment, or share, that is free exposure for us, and it's free to you. It doesn't cost you anything to donate your resources in that way. So interacting with our social media campaigns, we have got some big things planned for our social media campaigns, but we will need your help to grow those audiences. So please go to Facebook, go to Twitter, go to Instagram if you're on those platforms, and help us grow those things there. We're also doing presentations. The wonderful speakers that you heard here, Anissa, Representative Donahue, and myself, can come to your local area if you want to schedule an event location and alert your friends and neighbors. We would be happy to come to your town and give a presentation about the dangers of Article 22. And also we had several people come to a training. So we have a lot of people who have already signed up to do talks themselves. If you're one of those people and you are here today, now is the time. Schedule an event, get in front of people, start talking, and it is going to have a huge difference. If we all do our part, this is winnable. It is not a foregone conclusion. It is not insurmountable. Article 22 is horrible. By every metric that Anissa and Representative Donahue mentioned, it's not good for our state. It is not good, regardless of where you are on the spectrum of opinions on abortion rights or whatever reproductive autonomy means. Wherever you fall on that spectrum, you should not be supporting Article 22. All we have to do is tell as many Vermonters as we can what it means. All we have to do is tell as many Vermonters as we can what it means, and the real-world ramifications of Article 22 will do the rest for us.
That's right.
So, be encouraged and take action. Now is the time. Together, we can do this. Woo! Woo! Thank you again for coming. That is all of our remarks. The ice cream truck is here and fired up. Be sure to grab a ticket here at this table or one of the other ones that have the tickets. We're going to be available for conversation. Representative Donahue is going to be available for press questions if needed. Also, just as a quick note, I do see political signs. That's fine for them to be here, just that it's not part of our organization as we are a nonpartisan organization. Those signs are fine to be there, but they're not part of our organization. So just as a quick little point of clarification, thank you very much for coming. We're going to be here until noon. Grab some ice cream, grab some stuff, and let's beat Article 22.